In the early 1900s, the dream of flying was one that had captivated human imagination for centuries. Ancient myths spoke of wings and flight, from the story of Icarus to Leonardo da Vinci's sketches of flying machines. But for all the attempts, the idea of human flight remained just that, an idea. It wasn't until two brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, dared to turn that dream into a reality. Orville and Wilbur Wright were not the typical inventors you might imagine. They were not wealthy, educated elites with grand titles. Instead, they were self-taught, curious, and driven by an unyielding desire to understand the mechanics of flight. Their journey toward conquering the skies began in Dayton, Ohio, where they ran a bicycle sales and repair shop. It was here that their passion for mechanics and flight began to take shape. The Wright brothers had been intrigued by the idea of flight for some time, inspired by the works of pioneers such as Sir George Cayley, Samuel Langley, and Otto Lilienthal. However, they felt there was something missing in these earlier efforts. The key, they believed, was control. Many of the previous inventors had focused on creating machines that could fly, but none of them had successfully solved the problem of controlling flight. Without the ability to control an aircraft in the air, flight was a dangerous and impractical endeavor. For the Wright brothers, the challenge was clear: design a flying machine that was both powered and controllable. In the late 1890s, the brothers began experimenting with gliders, testing different wing designs to understand the forces at play during flight. They spent months at a time conducting research, flying their gliders at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, a location chosen for its strong winds and soft sands, which were perfect for their experiments. During these tests, they observed that control in the air was far more complicated than they had anticipated. But rather than being deterred, the Wright brothers saw these obstacles as challenges to overcome. One of the brothers' key innovations was their approach to flight control. They realized that simply having wings to lift the plane off the ground wasn't enough. They also needed to be able to control the aircraft's pitch, yaw, and roll. To achieve this, they designed a system of control that allowed the pilot to alter the shape of the wings during flight. This method, known as wing warping, was a breakthrough that allowed the plane to maintain stability and change direction mid-flight. It was a major leap forward, and it would lay the foundation for all future advancements in aviation. The brothers' perseverance paid off in 1903 when they were ready to test their first powered aircraft. Their invention, the Wright Flyer, was a curious-looking machine, with a wingspan of 12.3 meters, 40 feet, and a 12-horsepower engine. The Wright Flyer was unlike anything the world had seen before. It was an unconventional design, built with lightweight materials and powered by a gasoline engine. But it was also the culmination of years of hard work, experimentation, and theory. On December 17, 1903, after many months of preparation, the Wright brothers made their historic flight at Kitty Hawk. Orville piloted the first flight, which lasted 12 seconds and covered 120 feet. It may have seemed like a small step, but it was a giant leap for mankind. For the first time, humans were able to achieve controlled, powered flight. The significance of this achievement could not be overstated. The Wright brothers had done what many thought impossible: turned the dream of flight into a reality. Though the first flight was short, it demonstrated the core principles of controlled flight and opened the door for future advancements. The brothers continued to refine their designs and conduct additional flights. Just a few days later, on December 19th, they made a second flight that lasted 59 seconds and covered 852 feet, proving that their initial success was not a fluke. The Wright brothers had done something no one had ever done before. They had proven that human flight was not only possible but practical. The news of the Wright brothers' achievement quickly spread around the world, and the significance of their invention began to be recognized. They had not just created a machine that could fly, they had revolutionized transportation, warfare, and the very fabric of modern society. But, as with all great innovations, their journey was far from over. The Wright brothers faced skepticism, competition, and challenges from those who were unwilling to accept their achievement as genuine. Yet, the brothers continued to improve their designs and to prove that their success was no fluke. In the following years, the Wright brothers continued to push the boundaries of aviation. They made flights that were longer and higher, and they began to show the world that airplanes could be a viable mode of transportation. By 1908, they were demonstrating their aircraft to military officials and engineers, who began to see the potential of powered flight in combat situations. The Wright brothers had not only opened the skies to civilians, but had also introduced the idea of aerial warfare. The Wright brothers' success didn't come easily, but their story is one of determination, ingenuity, and an unwavering belief in the impossible. Their achievement marked the beginning of a new era in human history, an era in which the sky was no longer the limit, but just the beginning. Their journey is a testament to the power of curiosity, perseverance, and the willingness to challenge what seems impossible. Orville and Wilbur Wright may have started as humble bicycle makers, but by the end of their lives, they were celebrated as two of the most important inventors in history. Their legacy continues to inspire generations of innovators and dreamers, showing that with the right combination of vision and hard work, anything is possible. The Wright brothers' success at Kitty Hawk was only the beginning of their journey into the skies. Despite achieving the first controlled, powered flight in 1903, their struggles were far from over. In fact, their invention became the center of fierce competition, skepticism, and even controversy. But rather than retreating from the challenges, the Wright brothers pressed forward, undeterred by the naysayers. Their pursuit of innovation and their determination to prove their creation to the world would continue to shape the course of aviation history. In the years following their first flight, the Wright brothers worked tirelessly to refine their design and demonstrate that their invention was not just a curiosity, but a true technological breakthrough. They returned to Dayton, Ohio, and began building a second plane, the Wright Flyer II, using the lessons they had learned from their earlier experiments. They were not satisfied with just a few successful flights. They wanted to prove that airplanes could fly reliably, over longer distances, and under various conditions. But their biggest challenge lay ahead, proving the practical utility of their invention to the world. They had created the world's first successful airplane, but the aviation community was still divided. Many were unconvinced by their success, citing skepticism about the validity of the flights at Kitty Hawk. Some critics even claimed that the brothers had fabricated their achievement or that their flights had been aided by external factors like wind conditions. The skepticism was so strong that, in 1904, the Wright brothers were forced to conduct a series of public demonstrations to prove that they had indeed invented a working airplane. These public demonstrations, however, were not without their difficulties. The first demonstration in 1904 took place in Ohio, where the brothers flew the Wright Flyer III, a new and improved version of their original design. This was the first time they demonstrated the airplane to the public, and it was clear that their invention had come a long way. The Flyer III could fly for up to 40 minutes, covering distances of up to 24 miles. But despite these impressive feats, the brothers faced persistent doubts. Their critics were quick to dismiss their achievements, with some suggesting that the airplane's ability to fly was nothing more than a fluke or the result of favorable conditions. The Wright brothers were undeterred by the criticism. They knew that their airplane was the real deal, and they had the data to prove it. They made continued improvements to the design, refining the engine and stabilizing the controls, and by 1905, they had a much more reliable aircraft that could fly for longer periods. But they still faced one major obstacle: acceptance. The world simply wasn't ready to embrace the idea of powered flight. It was during this time that the Wright brothers decided to seek out a more formal and significant endorsement of their invention. They knew that the US government, with its interest in military technology, would be a key factor in proving the airplane's potential. The brothers' breakthrough came when they signed a contract with the US Army Signal Corps in 1908, agreeing to deliver an aircraft that could meet military specifications. This was a turning point in aviation history. No longer would airplanes be seen as merely a novelty or a curiosity, but as a serious tool for defense and transportation. In the summer of 1908, the Wright brothers took their aircraft to Fort Myer, Virginia, for a series of government tests. The stakes were high. If they could prove their airplane's reliability and effectiveness, they would secure a place in history as the inventors of the first practical airplane. The brothers were well prepared, but there were still risks. On one of their test flights, Orville Wright, piloting the aircraft, experienced a dangerous crash when a propeller broke, and he was thrown from the plane. He suffered severe injuries, but miraculously, he survived. Despite this setback, the Wright brothers pressed on. Wilbur, who had taken over piloting duties, managed to complete the test successfully, impressing the military officials and the public. By the end of 1908, the U.S. Army had officially accepted the Wright brothers' airplane, marking the beginning of a new era in aviation. The brothers' contract with the Army not only secured funding for further development, but also established the airplane as a legitimate military asset. The Wright brothers' efforts to gain recognition were finally paying off, but the world was still slow to embrace the potential of their invention. In Europe, many aviation pioneers were working on their own designs, and competition was fierce. But the Wright brothers remained the undisputed leaders in the field, holding patents for their invention and fighting legal battles to protect their intellectual property. They knew that the future of aviation depended on their ability to prove their ideas and defend their rights. As the years passed, the Wright brothers continued to innovate, building new and improved airplanes and demonstrating their abilities at air shows and exhibitions. They were the first to conduct a series of successful flights in Europe, and their work helped to inspire the development of aviation across the globe. In 1910, the brothers made their first public flight in Europe, thrilling audiences in France and England. The world was beginning to take notice of their achievement, and the Wright brothers had finally earned the recognition they deserved. However, despite their achievements, the Wright brothers were not content to rest on their laurels. They continued to refine their designs and work on new projects, but they also began to experience the toll that their work had taken on them. The relentless pursuit of perfection, the constant travel, and the pressure of competing with other aviation pioneers began to wear on the brothers. In 1912, Orville's wife, Catherine, passed away, and Wilbur's health began to decline due to a long battle with typhoid fever. Wilbur died in 1912, leaving Orville to carry on their work. Though their partnership was cut short, the legacy of the Wright brothers lived on. By the time Orville passed away in 1948, their invention had become one of the most influential innovations in human history. The airplane had transformed transportation, warfare, and the world itself. The Wright brothers had achieved what no one else had, conquering the skies. The legacy of the Wright brothers extends far beyond their initial success at Kitty Hawk. The airplane they created didn't just change the course of aviation, it altered the fabric of human society, opening up new horizons for exploration, travel, and communication. Their invention would go on to shape not only the world of transportation but also military strategy, commerce, and even global relationships. The Wright brothers, through their perseverance, vision, and groundbreaking work, proved that the impossible was possible, and their impact would be felt for generations to come. After the Wright brothers' historic achievement, the aviation industry began to grow rapidly, evolving into a vital part of modern society. Airplanes were no longer confined to military use or experimental flights. They became a key part of commercial travel, enabling the swift movement of people and goods across countries and continents. As the world embraced the potential of flight, numerous industries were transformed in ways that no one had anticipated in 1903. By the 1920s and 1930s, air travel had become more commonplace, with commercial airlines beginning to offer scheduled flights. One of the most significant milestones in aviation during this time was Charles Lindbergh's first solo non-stop transatlantic flight in 1927. His success was in part built on the foundations laid by the Wright brothers' early work. The world watched as Lindbergh's flight bridged the gap between Europe and America, and the idea of long-distance air travel became a reality. This marked the beginning of a new era where aviation would be integrated into the very fabric of modern life. In the following decades, airplanes would play an even more critical role, particularly during World War I and World War II. The military's adoption of airplanes for reconnaissance, bombing, and combat would change the nature of warfare. The Wright brothers' creation, initially met with doubt and skepticism, would become a primary tool for military forces around the world. They had not only invented a means of transportation, but had also created a tool that would shape global conflicts for decades. Aviation would soon become synonymous with power and dominance, and the sky would no longer be the limit. It would become the stage for some of the most significant events in human history. As commercial aviation took off, the world became more connected. Airplanes allowed people to travel long distances in a fraction of the time it would have taken by sea or land. The globalization of trade and the ability to quickly move goods across the globe fueled the rise of international businesses and economies. Air travel made the world feel smaller, and it became possible to cross continents in a matter of hours, fostering greater cultural exchange and collaboration between nations. The Wright brothers had not just invented an airplane, they had created the blueprint for a new world order, one that was faster, more interconnected, and more accessible. While the Wright brothers' immediate goals were focused on proving the practicality of their airplane and defending their patents, they never fully grasped the monumental impact their invention would have on the world. Their airplane would become more than just a means of transportation. It would become a symbol of progress, innovation, and human ingenuity. It represented the relentless drive to overcome challenges, to reach for the sky, and to push the boundaries of what was possible. In their later years, the Wright brothers were recognized for their pioneering work. They received numerous accolades, including induction into the National Aviation Hall of Fame. They also saw the aviation industry become a multi-billion-dollar industry, with thousands of planes flying daily, carrying millions of passengers around the world. However, despite their immense contributions, the Wright brothers remained humble. They were always more focused on the next step, the next breakthrough, rather than basking in the fame their work had earned them. Orville Wright, after the death of his brother Wilbur in 1912, continued to work in aviation, serving as the head of the Wright Company, which produced airplanes for the US military and other customers. Orville also served as a director at the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, NACA, an organization that played a crucial role in the development of aviation technology, which later became NASA. His work at NACA helped pave the way for the space age and the exploration of outer space. While Orville's days of flying airplanes were behind him, he continued to contribute to the evolution of flight, ensuring that the spirit of the Wright brothers' vision lived on. The legacy of the Wright brothers is not limited to the airplanes they built or the patents they held. It is a legacy of inspiration. They demonstrated that human ingenuity, creativity, and perseverance could turn the most fantastical dreams into reality. Their journey from the quiet sands of Kitty Hawk to the skies above is a testament to the power of innovation, to the belief that anything is possible if you are willing to take risks, learn from your failures, and keep pushing forward. The Wright brothers' invention continues to inspire generations of engineers, inventors, and dreamers. Today, aviation has advanced to the point where we can travel to space, and the idea of human flight is no longer confined to our planet. From the first flight of the Wright brothers' flyer to the Apollo missions, humanity has expanded its reach into the sky and beyond, all because two brothers dared to dream. Even today, as we witness the development of cutting-edge technology such as electric aircraft, drones, and commercial space travel, the legacy of the Wright brothers serves as a constant reminder that no challenge is insurmountable. Their story is a powerful symbol of the importance of vision, determination, and the pursuit of knowledge. It is a reminder that the sky was once seen as a barrier, but it became, thanks to their ingenuity, a canvas for the future of mankind. As we look to the skies, whether for air travel, space exploration, or the development of new forms of flight, we are all indebted to the Wright brothers. Their invention did not just change aviation, it changed the world. And as the world continues to evolve, so too does their legacy. inspiring the next generation of innovators to continue pushing the boundaries of what is possible. The Wright brothers proved that the impossible could be achieved, and they set the stage for a future that would be defined by the endless possibilities of flight.